If you look at the original, pictures and paintings, you trace the history and the migrations of people like I do, then you understand damn well through anthropological evidence, through artifacts, through paintings, through hieroglyphics, through pictographs, through cuneiform, through artwork and sculptures and statues and buildings and symbols. I have shown you that martial arts migrated to Asia with the out-of-African group that they claimed were Asian or white, but they were black people that went to Asia, set up shop, and came back. I have shown you that you can compare that to Beijing or Tokyo, where you have one type of Asian and you have parts of town where other people live, but the majority people are the native peoples there, and no one could doubt that in the ancient world. It's only liars who are looking from a Eurocentric lens who doubt that. Now, this is a picture of boxing in the ancient Mediterranean, part of the proof of the migration I show you. In this next Wikipedia clip, because a lot of you are fools, and this is made simple for fools. It says, according to legend, Chinese martial arts originated during the semi-mythical Xia dynasty more than 4,000 years ago. I'm going to show you that 4,000 doesn't even compare to 4,811, which is just the first random picture. I said, okay, oh yeah? Well, I'm just going to throw it in and see what comes up. You know what I'm saying? Because I know you're lying already. Because the knowledge that I've been introduced to from some of the wisest people in the world says otherwise. My experience studying the martial arts and my ancestors says otherwise. Amenemhat from 2800 BC says otherwise, because anybody knows that martial arts from the Shaoxi Forest and Shaolin and Hung Gar and Wing Chun, what are we talking about here? Kung Fu is what we're talking about here. Walking stick, the staff, is what we're talking about here. Alchemy, which was used to make the swords, the curves in the swords resembling the crescent moon. Obi-Wan Kenobi dying in a cross in Star Wars. We're talking symbolism and war being applied from symbols. The war temple including fighting arts too. There was temples that included medicine, science, astronomy, astrology, alchemy. Then there was temples that were focused on the god of wars, Horus, where you have light being studied as well as the war arts. This is where you tie in the military-industrial complex and how they used the cataclysm symbol and how even a lowly officer in the army introduced it to the world and they bought it. I mean, to the governments, introduced them the idea that, hey, we should use this Masonic symbol. So I have taken you with the migration of the ancient Egyptians, the portion of them who migrated out. The knowledge stayed in Egypt. The majority of the spirituality and the spiritual people stayed true to the religion in Egypt. Then there was a faction of those who weren't as spiritually sound, who migrated away. And there were those who migrated with them to ensure that God went with their people. And there was the bootlickers that stayed behind too, who didn't care about spirituality but the wealth, who wanted to control the papyri trade, who wanted to control the wheat, who wanted a bigger share and a bigger patch when the inundation in the Nile and when the harvest was being split up. They wanted a bigger share. And there was those with vested interests with foreign traders. I have shown you that just like capoeira came from Angola and the cock-sucking deniers who are worse than the Holocaust deniers deny that this is an African martial art, capoeira. And only some capoeira masters admit that. So what are we talking about here? We are talking about symbols and war temples and migrations of ideas, historical events, migrations of people, and I have not only ruled out every other race being the founders of the ancient knowledge and the foundation of knowledge that built the pyramid, that gave us the technology we have today, but I have ruled out the idea that the people who were kicked out of Africa because they couldn't hack it, the people who were forced to go searching for resources because they weren't high enough up on the spiritual hierarchy to be left behind and have their share of food, as well as other events that pushed them out. And then you had the cult of Seti that contributed to building Stonehenge and the megalith, which is an example of a megalith. Now, think about it. Is this guy carrying a staff for no reason? Do chains, which come from alchemy, which come from alchem, chemet, do weapons made of metal come from no reason? It was the African knowledge that migrated, that the Europeans and the bronze workers, the smelters, the alchemists in Europe were building on to advance warfare. It was the alchemy and the spiritual idea and the Mantu war arts of Heru that the Asians, who used to be black, were building upon. But then they aligned themselves to the pale horse, became Masons. Talking to you, over 1 million Chinese Masons in China, I'm talking to you. And betrayed their ancestors, who they pretend to pay homage to in the temple and pretend to care about. The same way the Sikhs and the martial arts from the temples of India, the lamas, didn't get along with the monks from the temples in Shaolin and Tibet. You see that being portrayed in the Wu-Tang series. Is it a coincidence that I was a kid laying on my back, 2 years old, staring at the ceiling, with only me and God in the room? And what transpired was fear. Fear that the devil was in my closet. Fear that the devil was around outside in the bushes. And I tried to warn my family. I said, Mom, the devil is outside in the bushes. I said, the devil is in our home. And they allowed the devil to fool them by telling me, son, go to bed. The devil doesn't exist in here. And I'm telling you right now, do not make the same mistake as the ancient Egyptians, who gave the knowledge to the scum because they underestimated the presence of darkness and the devil and Set. Do not let the sun set, for I will not let the sun set on my watch. History will not record that bullshit on my watch. Thank you.